I got to give you a little history lesson, especially for the younger people, so that they understand the piece that I'm going to read. In the mid-1950s and into the early 60s, there was a culture called the Beat Generation, whose followers were known as beatniks. They came out at night, they hung out in coffee houses and clubs where they read poetry, often of their own creation, and they were frequently accompanied by someone playing bongo drums. They drank, smoked reefer, and their music was jazz. They listened to guys like Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, and Charlie Bird Parker. As nonconformists, they embraced Eastern religion and rejected materialism. Their nonconformity even extended to applauding by snapping their fingers instead of clapping their hands. They followed the writings of Allen Ginsberg and Jack Kerouac, among others. They thrived in places like Greenwich Village, Times Square, San Francisco, and the Pacific Northwest. During that era, there were a couple of TV shows that featured a beatnik or somebody who spoke the beatnik lingo. One of those shows was 77 Sunset Strip. A guy named Kooky was the beat character, and then the other one was The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, who had Bob Denver playing the quirky beatnik Maynard G. Krebs. And then on the big screen there was a movie, Bell Book and Candle, that starred Kim Novak, James Stewart. Jack Lemmon played Kim Novak's beatnik brother. He was a warlock. Other people in the cast were Ernie Kovacs and Elsa Lancaster, who had obviously divorced Frankenstein's monster, let down her enormous beehive, and removed the white lightning bolts that had adorned it. And in 1960, when I was a 16-year-old teen in search of literary genius, I discovered this in Mad Magazine. This is the beat version of A Visit from St. Nick. It was the night before Christmas, and all through the pad, not a hipster was swinging, not even old Dad. The chimney was draped in that stocking routine in hopes that the fat man would soon make the scene. The wee cats were laid out all cool in their beds, while sounds of the sugar blues wailed through their heads. And my chick and her Castro and me on the floor had just caught out cold for a 40-wink snore. When out of left field there came on such a ribble, I broke from my sack to see what was this dribble. To the glass pane I split like a B-Western movie, tuned in on the action, and man was it groovy. The moon and the snow were like faking together, which made the scene rock in the day people weather. When one of my peepers should come on real queer, but a real crazy sleigh and 8 swinging reindeer. With a hopped up old driver on some frantic kick, I was hip in a moment, this must be St. Nick. Much faster than Bird Blue, this group was no drag, and he rocked and he rolled and he pegged them by tag. Like Dasher, like Dancer, like Prancer and Vixen, go Comet, go Cupid, go Donder and Blitzen. Fly over the shack, make it over the pad, now cut out man, cut out man, cut out my like bad. When they swing with the beat, whoops, I missed a line. He flew to his skids, to his group blew a lick. When they swing with the beat of a Dixieland, I must be on the wrong page. Too much reefer. On the wrong page most of my life. All right.
Too much reefer.
Like sidemen and combos pick up as they stomp, when they swing to the beat of a Dixieland romp. So up to the top of my bandstand they flew, with a sleigh full of loot and St. Nicholas too. And then in a quick riff I dug on the roof, the jumping and jiving of each swinging hoof. As I pulled in my noggin and turned around fast, down the chimney came Nick like a hot trumpet blast. He was wrapped up to kill, man, a real kooky dresser. And his rags were like, way out, Pops, he was a gasser. A sack full of goodies hung down to his tail, and he looked like a postman with Basie's fan mail. His lids, man, they sizzled. His dimples were smiles. His cheeks were like Dizzy's. His beak was like Miles. His puckered up mouth was like blowing flat E, and his chin hid behind a real crazy goatee. The tip of a butt he had snagged in his choppers, and he took a few drags, just like all cool beboppers. He had a weird face and a solid reed middle that bounced when he cracked like a gut bucket fiddle. He was shaken with meat, meaning he was no square, and I flipped because I'd always thought he was long hair. But the glint in his eye and the beat in his touch soon gave me the message, this cat was too much. He blew not a sound but skipped right to his gig and stashed all the stockings, then came on real big, and flashing a sign like that old schnozzle bit, and playing it hip up the chimney he split. He flew to his skids, to his group blew a lick, and they cut out real cool on a wild, frenzied kick. But I heard him sound off with a razzmatazz, a cool Christmas to all, and like all of that jazz.